Back to Media Watch to Around the World. Let's be honest. How much have you seen, heard, or read about how the relatives of passengers on that missing Malaysian airliner feel about this whole charade? Well, not much, I'm sure. Well, that's because Western-dominated media have largely focused on analyzing occasional satellite images, the pilot's background and home flight simulator, and scientific analysis, which, quite frankly, can get rather boring. And there was even extensive coverage of a partner of one of a handful of American passengers on that flight. Well, not to belittle the impact on that person, but the majority of the passengers on that flight were Chinese nationals. And the world knows very little about how their relatives feel and about the Chinese passengers themselves. And so I think it's important that we present to you how the Chinese and Chinese relatives feel about the handling of this mysterious tragedy. Well, here's how the Beijing Youth Daily presents one Chinese view. When Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak announced that the plane ended its journey in the southern Indian Ocean, relatives of Chinese victims were stunned. Almost immediately, shouts and cries rang out from the meeting room, where the relatives were gathered while waiting for news about the missing airline. Relatives later asked for more detailed information, but many relatives were too sad to raise any questions. Some of these relatives were prepared for bad news. They set up a public platform on WeChat to make more people know what was going on. They said that even in sadness, they tried their best to help other grieving families. Now, one lawyer suggested that relatives keep a record of false statements made by Malaysian officials. He said this information could be useful someday. I think most people who tuned in to international broadcasts assume what the relatives' reactions would be without even seeing and hearing much of it. Moving on, though, I think most of you don't even know that a committee formed by the Chinese relatives released a statement following Prime Minister Najib's vague announcement. Phoenix TV provides us that statement. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak said the plane's journey had ended without providing any hard evidence. For the past 18 days, the Malaysian government and military have tried to hide the truth. What they have done has mentally and physically destroyed the lives of relatives of 154 people on that plane. What's worse, they delayed rescue work and wasted manpower and material resources. The airline, the Malaysian government, and the Malaysian military are the real killers. Well, this is raw emotion, something we've never heard or seen being covered extensively by foreign news media. And that raw emotion boiled over to the Malaysian embassy in Beijing, as reported by Sohu.com. The relatives got off the bus and walked to the Malaysian embassy. Photos of the relatives show they were tired and weary. They carried banners which read, "Husband, come home soon. How can I and our child live without you?" Or, "Mother, I miss your home-cooked meals." Or, "We want the truth, don't fool us." And "Politics are blackest." And the final one, which read, 1.3 billion people are waiting to pick you up. It is certainly tough when one has to wait and wait with no verifiable answers or evidence. Well, here's some additional information. Police briefly scuffled with a group of relatives who tried to approach journalists. The relatives demanded to see the Malaysian ambassador, and they later met with him. In a clear statement of support for the families, Chinese President Xi Jinping ordered a special envoy, Vice Foreign Minister Zhang Ye-sui, to Kuala Lumpur to deal with the case. Now, Deputy Foreign Minister Xie Hangsheng told Malaysia's ambassador that China wanted to know exactly what led Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak to announce that the plane had been lost. Even a top Chinese athlete weighed in on the search, as presented by NetEase. Tennis star Li Na said she's upset and angry after hearing the plane ended its journey in the southern Indian Ocean. She said she's angry because people have waited for over half a month only to hear that announcement without any evidence to support it. She also said she will avoid Malaysia Airlines from now on because they have destroyed the people's trust. And this one final footnote, just to add insult to injury, reports say Malaysia Airlines sent condolences to the passengers' relatives through text messages.